Alright, what I got for you today is a Manix 2XL. I have the Flytanium titanium ball bearing cage spring there. I'm going to actually show you how to install this thing relatively painlessly. This thing's always had some lovely issues with taking apart. It's always kind of a pain in the ass, but let's go ahead and do it, huh? So first thing we're going to do, go ahead and take off these barrel spacer screws. These are T8s, and technically, if I remember right, that's a T9, but a T8 works if you're careful. So here comes number one. And these are not magnetic screws, unfortunately. That makes it just a little bit more difficult to pull out. You know what? I have tweezers that might make that a little bit easier. Come on, buddy. There we go. It shouldn't be that difficult. Here we go with number two. There we go, there's number two. Okay, the next thing, pop out the pivot screw. There we go. Now, set that aside, a little bit different area. Okay, so the first thing that's a giant pain in the ass with this thing is this lanyard haul thing. It's actually press fitted in at the factory, so for the most part, what you'll end up doing is you'll lift up on the handle scale and the steel liner there, and just kind of rotate that, because this is really almost impossible to pull off of there. It's almost a destructive process, so unless you're actually replacing the scales with something else, generally not advised that you try to do that. Alright, so we can see this is one of the newer ones. This is the CPM M4 variant that with G10 scales that Blade HQ put out a while ago. And what I can tell you is that they've skeletonized quite a bit of that on the inside, which is interesting, because the original ones certainly did not, and they were heavier. But okay, so this is the whole assembly thing that we're talking about there. This has a brass washer on the other side of it, and I'll just go ahead and take that off. So you can kind of see how this works, where it's riding on this ball bearing the whole way through. The spring pushes it back into place there. You gotta pull it apart. So, next thing that we gotta do is on the other side here. That's also holding this whole cage thing together. So we will pull that off. You want to keep your thumb on there, because this holds the spring and the ball bearing and all that sort of good stuff that could just go flying, and you don't really want that. So from here, I just want to put my thumb over to catch that. Okay, so we got a couple of pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and take the blade off. You can see the bushings, that's the word I'm looking for, or the washers there, are captured on each side of the pivot. They don't just slide on top, they slide in and then are locked with the pivot there, which is fine. It works just fine. Alright, so here is the ball bearing cage, and here's the tiny squirrely little ball bearing. And we got this little dude right here. And the pen actually slots in through there, and you can see it kind of free floats back and forth, which is, going to be helpful for us. On the Manix, or, the Manix 2, that is actually another pivot screw, or another barrel screw, or whatever for you. On the XO, though, it's not. It's this pen, which makes things a little more challenging for it. That's okay, though. So, once we get it down to this point, it's relatively just taking the new one and putting it back in. I've had to do this a couple of times because I have an original, and the original one actually had more of a transparent plastic one of these cage things, and it broke the first time that I opened it up, which is why I originally purchased this. Then later on, I got this one and decided that I wanted the titanium one and the new one. So, I've had to do this a couple of times. So, what you want to do is, this was the failure point on the original ones here. This little pull would snap off. I mean, this one's titanium. You can wrench it around all you want. That's fine. The ball bearing goes in there, and then that loose side is facing up. You don't want it to have the ball bearing directly facing towards the blade there. You want to have it flipped the other way around. And you will slide that guy in really quick. Let it, maybe not. Okay. So, first thing I want to actually do, I think, is slap the blade in there. Then I can put the ball cage, everything in. And then we have this. And this is the basic part that's kind of difficult to get back in place. What I end up doing here is making sure that that's actually correct. Cool. So, we'll go ahead and put the pen back in that stupid little hole. Really, there we go. Okay. So, I do this with the blade in the fully closed position. So you're essentially taking your thumb, holding it down, and pushing it up. And you're basically going to be applying pressure to this little pin here at the same time. And get it way up there. And futz around a little bit until that pin actually gets into place. There it is. Okay. So it's good. You want to hold it together a little bit. For this, you'll certainly want to put that bronze washer back in place. And you'll swing this guy right back around. Lift up just a little bit so he is all secure there. Now you'll see that this doesn't quite look like it's going to fit. You can see it's a little proud when you're pushing on it. But that's actually going to be taken care of by putting the screws back in on that little holder thing. So you'll push it in a little bit and then crank that guy shut, and you can see he's flush. So he's all good. So we can go ahead and take the other two screws there. And get them all tightened up as well. And I'll go ahead and take the pivot and slap that guy back in there. Then we got a fantastic knife with a fantastic titanium ball cage or ball bearing cage. It's all good. There's just a little bit of blade play, so I will tighten this guy up a little bit more. There we go. beautiful action, and we got nice gold titanium stuff there. So cool. Uh, it is a little fiddly, that's for sure. But kind of following along with what I've done here, I kind of found a decently easy way to go about it. So if you actually appreciate it, give me a thumbs up. That would be nice. I don't have very many of those yet. Alrighty. Have a great rest of your day, yo.